Please subscribe to my channel. This is the primordial wave. The primordial wave. I am the Enwisdomizer. On this platform, we are embarking on an Enwisdomization series to enwisdomize, to make wiser, to make smarter, to impact knowledge into, right? So subscribe so that whenever we put out a video, you will be the first to receive it, to listen to it, and to view it. Today, we are going to talk about the influence of Africa on ancient Greece and classical civilization, right? For some people, this statement might sound preposterous. This statement might sound outrageous. It is treasonable. How could anyone say that Africa offered civilization to the Greek people, that it should be the other way around? I understand the sentiment. I understand the feelings. I understand why some people should think this way, because if you look at the current historical narrative, if you look at the current curriculum at school, colleges, universities, name them, you are coming out with the impression that Africa is an impoverished society. Africa is an impoverished continent. I mean, Africa is backward. Africa does not contribute. And people will think that this has always been the case in history, that Africa has always been viewed in terms of the modern, current day European lens. But that is not the case. That is not what you find when you go back in time and dig deep into the archives of history. You will find out that Africa has had a lot of contribution, and some of those contributions were, as a matter of fact, stolen, plagiarized, and pilfered. And then they create a false historical narrative to cover their track, right? To cover their track. Now, the modern African intellectuals and scholars are not helping issues either. Why? Because when you read some of their writings, it's not deep. You cannot get the sense, the idea that Africans have had a significant contribution to the world. What the current generation of African writers and intellectuals focus on three areas. One is the pre-colonial African society of microscopic village communities doing their thing, getting married, worshiping their gods in different dialects and languages. That is the kind of perception you see from some of these African writers. And then another one is the colonial period. The colonial period, the cultural contact and conflict with the European society, and how Europe dominated Africa and imposed its version of the world, its Christian philosophy, its Western culture on Africa, and how Africa struggled to emancipate themselves from the European domination. Now, the last version you're going to get when you study African writers is the post-colonial era, where Africans now have obtained independence, and the struggles, the political struggles, the challenges of governance that they experienced, the military coups and counter coups, wars, and the conflict that came after independence. These are the kind of perception that I have when I study, quote unquote, what Africans write as African history, right? And for me, this is not deep. For me, this is part of the story, but not the story. Now, if you want to gain more thorough knowledge about Africa, most of the writings were done by Africans in the Western Hemisphere. And I keep saying this, and some people are not comfortable with it. African Americans, blacks in the Western Hemisphere seem to understand more of African history than the Africans in the African continent. I don't know why it should be. I think many Africans in the African continent are brainwashed. They may not know that. With their perception of the world, we have gone through struggle, but I think blacks in the Western Hemisphere have more access to material information, to research information. I will not be ashamed to say that if you want to understand Africa in a deeper way, you look towards blacks in the West. That is just the fact. That is just the fact. Now, if you look at this map here, this is Egypt. Of course, when I talk about Africa and ancient Africa, I'm talking of Egypt. Remember, even the name Egypt was imposed by these people, by the Greek people when they came to Africa. They came to Africa for knowledge, for information, for everything, right? And it was them that named these people who lived here, Africans who lived here, the Egyptians. The people who lived here did not identify themselves as Egyptians, okay? But we're not going into those semantics now, the definition and the terminologies right now. We might do it later. So why do they hide information, certain information about African? It's because they have lied about history. They have not told the truth about history. And if you have taught your children that people who look like this is this is how the Egyptians looked. If you have taught your children that people who look like this did not have anything to contribute to the world, and now you find out through archaeology, through paleontology, that they actually were the originators of what you might call civilization, how are you going to go back and correct your error? You know? It's difficult for some people to wrap their minds around. Now, this trail here is the trail of the River Nile, the Nile River, and civilization in Egypt developed around this Nile. You know, it's amazing that in most ancient times, even in modern times, civilization tend to conglomerate, tend to be present around water. Of course, water is the source of life, you know, for even for us in this modern time, for everybody. Water is the source of life. So civilization in Egypt developed around this region, around the trail of this river here, the River Nile. But when you look at movies, when you read books, a lot of books written by Indo-European and Anglo-American establishment and scholars, you will have the perception that pharaohs looked like this, right? That the pharaohs were Caucasians. The pharaohs were white men and white women, you know. I think it would be an intellectual dishonesty for me to say that there were no presence of the Caucasians in Egypt. Of course there was, but that was a later development through conquest. But the original developers of Egyptian civilization were Africans, and they did not look like this. And that is the history we're trying to correct, right? That is the history that we are trying to correct. So the cinematographic mind control of Anglo-Euro-Americanism using Hollywood movies in addition to the historical distortion of European scholars continues to perpetuate a false narrative of ancient Africa. Yep, That is exactly what it means. The movies are mind controlling people. The books are mind controlling people. That it is difficult for Africans whose ancestors were the developers, were the builders of ancient Egyptian civilization to see themselves represented in movies, that they now project what their ancestors have developed onto other people because they are being mind controlled, they are being tricked, they are being deceived. And the Bible, the scripture, the Torah, the Bible is also a tool of mental domination and colonization. I know a lot of people who are Christians so wouldn't think that they are being mind controlled, but they are absolutely mind controlled. And they say that the Bible is the sword of the Spirit. The Bible is a sword. Of course, it is a sword to slay your consciousness, a sword that kills your self-awareness, a sword that destroys your identity. Religion and the Bible are both tools for advanced mental colonization and schismatic disjointing of people from their root. This Bible here is used to disconnect you from your identity, from who you are. I think this movie, if you can watch this movie, anywhere you can find it, watch it, and you see what I'm telling you is the truth that pharaohs are depicted in this form. This movie, I think, is called The Ten Commandments. Find the movie, or go and rent the movie called The Ten Commandments and watch it. And you're not going to see your ancestors in this movie. Even if you see Black people, they are presented as slaves, as subservient, always carrying, maybe chairs and helping the major actors on the scene, right? On the historical scene. They're always on the background helping because that is the modern consciousness. That is the modern deception. That is the modern perception. And that perception is very new. It has not always been there. And people are being deceived. Now, another movie, there are multiple movies, but I just kind of found a few. This movie is called Pharaoh. Of course, it's talking about Pharaoh, and you see a Caucasian sitting on the throne of Pharaoh. It dominates the throne of pharaohhood to the extent that because of this cinematographic and scholarly biblical religious mind control, many Africans now see Egypt as an evil empire, not knowing that they're condemning themselves. They see pharaohs. You see the popular saying, Pharaoh, let my people go, this evil empire dominating certain people that came from the Levant region, from the Middle East, Semitic people, and Jehovah God or Yahweh, Elohim, or whatever had to come down and intervene and did these magical miracles, which is likely didn't happen like that, and then freed the Semitic people out of Egypt and established them in a land that was already occupied by the Canaanites, right? And this is the lens with which a lot of Africans view themselves. If you condemn pharaohs, you're condemning who you are. You're condemning your civilization. You're condemning your self-identity because that was you. Why did they say that was you? Because this is how pharaohs looked. And a lot of people don't know that pharaohs looked like this. That ancient Egyptian pharaohs looked like this. People don't know that. People don't know that because through pictographs, pictographics, through images, you can rule somebody's left brain, right? Right brain. They present these pictures, and that doesn't look like you. That doesn't look like the original people who developed the Egyptian civilization, right? I wrote here, said, it will be reckless. It will be a reckless intellectual and historical dishonesty to deny the non-African presence in Egypt and their consequent occupation of the seat of kingship. However, such was a later development in Egyptian history, which came as a result of foreign conquest. Example, the Ptolemy dynasties with Hellenic royal families ruling Egypt for close to 300 years, right? Even though the original inhabitants of the Nile River civilization were Africans like this. Later on, when other people, foreigners, Indo-Europeans, the Semitic people begin to troop and conquer the land, they kind of whitened it up, okay? But as I said, when you watch, have you ever watched the movie and you see black pharaohs? Could you imagine how that movie would change people's consciousness? They're not going to put that kind of movie. So they will keep lying to people. They will keep lying and deceiving the people, right? Now, how did we know that the Egyptians were Africans? Evidence is there, not made believe, not mythology, factual evidence written down on the walls and on papyruses and on, is there anything like papyruses? Is that plural or singular? I don't know, but you know what I mean. So the papyrus, archaeological evidence, paleontological information are telling us that those people who built the Nile River civilization were Africans. Okay, I'm going to read this. Ancient Egyptians were clear, very clear, crystal clear as to who they are and where they came from. The ancient Egyptians were very clear. So when you watch these movies and read these books and you are seeing Caucasians depicted as the originators of ancient African civilization, you know that your mind has been conned. You've been conned. You've been duped. You've been tricked. You've been lied to, right? This is what the ancient Egyptians said about themselves. They said, we came from the beginning of the Nile, where God happy dwells at the foothills of the mountains of the moon. And this quote is from the papyrus of Honefer. The papyrus of Honefer, okay? Honefer, probably a priest in ancient Egyptian time, you know, or just a chronicler or history document writer. He said that they came from the foothill of the mountain of the moon. But where is this mountain of the moon? It's here in Africa. Within this region, you see, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, these are the region, because there are mountain ranges within this period, and that is what they call the mountain of the moon in East Africa. That's where ancient Egyptians, they put it there. It is clear. They wrote it. Thank God for their documentation. They told you where they came from. This region here. This region, right? Now, Mountain of the Moon is an ancient term referring to a legendary mountain or mountain range in East Africa as at the source of the river Nile River. Various identifications have been made in modern times. The Rwenzori, I don't know if I'm saying this, you know, I don't speak the language. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but if you are from this Uganda, please tell me if I'm pronouncing this right. The Rwenzori Mountains of Uganda and Democratic Republic of Congo being the most celebrated. This is from Wikipedia. So the ancient Egyptians say they came from the foothill of the mountain of the moon. They came from Africa. They didn't say they came from Greece or from Babylon or from Mesopotamia. They came from Africa. They were clear. Ancient Egyptians said they came from, their ancestors came from Africa. Where the god Happy. This is the depiction of the god Happy, right? the goddess Happy, one of the oldest deities in the world, right? They say the god or the goddess Happy dwells at the foothill of the mountain of the moon in East Africa, right? They told you where they came from. So when you watch movie next time and you see other people not looking like you depicted or represented in their cinematographic mindfuckery, you know that you can watch it, but just say, oh, that's fuckery. That's lie. Egyptians didn't look like that, right? So this deity, this goddess, you see, they draw, depicted her with breast hanging down, which is not something to be looking down on women, but it looks more of a fertility. It's in ancient Africa, when they depict women with huge breasts, it has to do with life, the giver of life. Because, you know, as I say, if you look at the modern history, you're going to think that in Africa, everybody oppresses women. But in ancient time, women were the prime. Women were the first. They are the bringer of life, right? Right. So the goddess Happy, see her here depicted. And this is, I think, the original statue. These things are dating thousands of years before the Bible was even written, right? This goddess personifies annual inundation of the river Nile. You know, the river Nile will flood every year, right? So this goddess represents that flooding of the river Nile in ancient Africa, ancient Egypt. Now, why is this important? We're going to also look at the sources of the river Nile. The sources of the river Nile. The river Nile in Egypt came from where? Here in Africa. See, two places we look at is, this here is the Blue Nile. It's called Lake Tana in Ethiopia. I think I switched this. Lake Tana in Ethiopia, called the Blue Nile, and then the White Nile, Lake Nyanza in Tanzania. This Lake Nyanza was renamed by the colonialists, by the Europeans, as Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria. Now, this is Ethiopia. You see, this is where Lake Tana started in Ethiopia. You know, the source coming here and then meeting with the trail of, see where they met, joining with the trail of River Nyanza from Uganda, and then going towards Egypt, emptying here. This is the Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean Sea. And this is the Red Sea here, Mediterranean Sea. So ancient Egyptians say they came from here. They came from around here, right? They came from around here. And why is this important? Why is that part of Africa important? See, up to now, the place called the Great Rift Valley is very important in archaeology as well as archaeology and paleontology. Because if you are a paleontologist, if you want to be recognized, you run to Africa, because that's like the maker of archaeobiogeographical studies. Archaeobiogeographical studies. Of course, I'm talking of this region in Africa. See, it's called the Great Rift Valley. Many paleontological discovery has been done here. And that is why people say that Africa is the cradle of civilization, the home of mankind, you know. Now, this man here, his name is Tim White. He's Dr. Tim White is an American paleontologist. He went to Africa, somewhere in Ethiopia, around the Afar region. and discovered some bones as old as millions of years, you know. I'm going to read this. Modern biogeographical studies championed by Euro-American scientists confirm Africa as the arena of prehistory. You see, Africa is the arena of prehistory. So when you read the Bible and your mind fucked to believe that the first man came from somewhere in the Garden of Eden, you know that they're lying to you, because that story doesn't make sense. Show me archaeology. Show me genetic information. Show me evidence, right? There's no evidence to that. So Africa is like the maker of the human prehistory. East Africa, South Africa, and there are other places that could be explored for more archaeological and paleontological information as well. Now, this archaeologist Tim White discovered a genius. A genius is like a classified group of hominid, right? He discovered a genus called Ardipithecine. Ardipithecine is the one who discovered this hominid in Ethiopia, in Afar region. So we're going to break down how it came, because sometimes these people use big words. I think it's just a way of confusing people, Ardipithecine. It looks like it's a big word, but if you break it down, what it means is Adi means ground, Ramid means root, and Pithecus is a Greek word for ape. So I guess he's trying to say the ground root of ape, maybe the grandfather of all apes. The grandfather of all ape, the ground root of this ape, this hominid, or the Pithecus cadaver, which is dated 5.8 million years ago. So this fossil, this genus Ardipithecine, in this case, the Pithecus cadaver, dates 5.8 million years ago. He is the same thing who discovered another hominid in the family of Ardipithecine called Ardipithecus ramidus. Ramidus dates 4.4 million years ago and is a bipedal creature. Bipedal means means two. It walks on 2 feet. It doesn't walk on 4 like an ape, or it stands erect and walks like on 2 feet. That's bipedalism, bipedal creature, right? All found in the Afar region of Ethiopia. Ethiopia, ancient, right? Now, another kind of genus that was discovered in Africa is in Afar region again of Ethiopia. This Afar region here is the family of Australopithecine. Australopithecine. Now, this skull here, this creature here is Australopithecus afarensis. They use so much big word to confuse people, so that just say monkey from Africa, just say monkey found from Africa. Everybody will understand that, But they use this big word to understand what it's like. It's like pharmaceutical, medical terminologies. Something has to have scientific name, and it's so complicated, it's difficult, because they want to restrict the knowledge to only a class of intellectuals. It's more of academic colonization. They want to colonize the information and make it so difficult for ordinary people to understand. And we're going to break all this down for you. See, Australopithecus afarensis. Afarensis means, you see, afar. Just afar. It's found in a far region of Ethiopia. You see, afarensis. They put all these things to make it difficult. You know, as I say, the Latin for Austra means south, because Africa is in the southern hemisphere, right? Australis is Latin for the southern. So now you know where the terminology Australia, because you're talking of the southern part of the globe, right? That's where the concept of the name Australia came from. So this creature named Australopithecus, and we're breaking down what Australopithecus means, so that these high-sounding terminologies don't push people off from listening to what the knowledge we're trying to communicate. Pithecus, as I say, is ape, and afarensis means afar region. In essence, this whole long word, Australopithecus afarensis, means monkey from a far region of Ethiopia. Just say stuff, just break it down, just say it like that. You know, just say monkey from a far region of Ethiopia. Everybody will understand. Oh, you're talking of monkey, the bone of monkey from Africa. I don't even know where they kept this bone. Maybe it's somewhere in America or Europe. Africa should go and say, we want our monkey bone back. Give us back our monkey bones. You're going to go to war because you have our monkey bones. You've been sitting in Africa for millions of years, and now you came and discovered, you know, give our stuff back. So remember, we've been showing you consistently how East Africa is very important in history. It's very important in history. Why? The Rift Valley, the Great Rift Valley, see? This is the Great Rift Valley. And that is the same place that the Egyptians who lived here were telling us that they came from this region. They came from this, the ancestors came from this region. And up to today, so I guess my point is that modern scientific studies are validating what the ancient Africans, Egyptians told us. If they say their ancestors came from here, and modern archaeologists and paleontologists are finding these bones here dating millions of years, it means that something must have happened here in prehistory, that something that must have started here in history. Of course, I am not buying into the evolutionary theory of Charles Darwin. I'm not buying it. I don't believe that those bones were actually forefathers of, the ground, like that human being descended from apes. I don't buy that, but I'm going with their own knowledge. I'm going with their own interpretation of things, right? I'm not into monkey business like Charles Darwin. If you're looking for somebody who's into monkey business, you go to Charles Darwin. Not into monkey business at all. Right. So now the Great Rift River. What do we know about this area? What do we know about this region? Right. Proto-Afro-Asiatic culture developed from the Rift Valley in East Africa at the end of Ice Age in the 10th and 9th millennium BC. Boom. Here we go. In the 10th and 9th BC, the end of the Ice Age, Proto-Afro-Asiatic developed here. Proto means like the original, like, I don't know how to say, the first developed here in Africa, right? So many evidence, many things are pointing to this region. So where there is smoke, how you say that? Where there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. Because the ancient Egyptians are making allusion to this place. Paleontologists are making an allusion to all this place. People who study linguistics are also making some kind of claim about certain human languages originating from this place. We cannot ignore it. We can't ignore it. Something must be there. Now, Last ice age, water was locked up in the polar ice cap. The Sahara Desert was even more spread out than it is today. This is Sahara Desert here. See, this is Sahara Desert. So it covers. So what they are telling us is that during the last ice age, you see, water was trapped in the polar ice cap. And because of that, rainfall was minimal or non-existent. There was no rainfall. By the end of the ice age, rainfall returns. Savanna grassland flourished with Afro-Asiatic people from the Rift Valley flourishing and spreading out. I'm going to break this down. The Chadic speaking reached Lake Chad. No. I go back. Sorry, got to go back. Missed something. Patient. Go back to my. Nope. It's not embodying it. Okay. I know what I'm gonna do. Go back and start from the beginning. Oh no, I don't like it this way. Well, let me just do it this way anyway. So this was where we are before I clicked off something and I can't get back to it, right? So this is not the spelling of Chad. So the Chadic speaker reached Lake Chad. The Berbers reached Maghreb, and the Proto-Egyptians in the Upper Egypt. The speaker of Proto-Semitic language settled in Ethiopia, from where they moved to Arabian Savannah. And this quote is taken from Martin Bennell. Read his book. It's called Afro Black Athena. Find that book and read it. Dense with information. Okay. So what is being expressed here is that during the Ice Age, water was locked up in the polar ice cap, and because of that, Sahara Desert. Remember, Sahara Desert is as big as the United States, huge. When people think Africa is just a village, it makes me sick. Okay, Sahara Desert is huge, huge, and it's barren. You know, and a lot of people, researchers, believe that the Sahara Desert was once flushing like a ocean, like was covered with ocean before, and that must have happened during the 9th millennium BC, right? So Sahara Desert was probably covering some part of East Africa and even West Africa. But then when rainfall started coming back after the Ice Age, then that is when savanna, you know, the Serengeti, the beautiful savanna grassland in East Africa begin to spring up, right? Begin to spring, and then people begin to migrate. I am going to stop here and we're going to continue next time. I don't want to make this too long because people will be bored looking at it. This is my first video, and please click like. And this is the primordial wave, and I'm the Enwisdomizer. Next time, we continue exploring and exposing to you some of the information that many people are not aware of. All right.